In this video, we are going to talk about how to modify a coordinate system for MSC Nastran using the CORD2C, CORD2R, or the CORD2S entry. We are going to talk about how to translate, orient, how to create a new coordinate system, how to display the coordinate system, and how to add labels to this coordinate system. And we're going to do this all through the web browser. Now, the web app we're using today is available at theengineeringlab.com. If you come to this website, here in the top right hand corner is a blue button. Click the blue button, fill out the form, and you'll get access to the web app we're using today. Okay, so let's go over how to display coordinate systems. So if you click on the model display panel here on the left, you get all these checkboxes. It's through these checkboxes you can control the labels for the coordinate system. So here I see where all the coordinate systems are located. If I want to actually turn off the coordinate system itself, I can mark the checkboxes here in the display elements column. So here, let's go ahead and turn off all of these coordinate systems. You'll notice that these blue, green, and red axes are visible and controlled with these checkboxes. So that's how you display the coordinate system and the labels. Now, how do we position and orient a coordinate system? So for this, I'm going to be demonstrating these actions with this coordinate system. Coordinate system 3, which is the CORD2R entry. So let's go ahead and reposition this coordinate system. So here on the left side, click on orientations. Let's go ahead and select CORD2C, CORD2R, and CORD2S for the target. Let's click on reset form. Let's go ahead and select this coordinate system. So you see we've selected coordinate system 3. And now for the position, let's go ahead and select maybe a node at the top. So when you modify this form, you get a preview. So let's look at this preview. The red axis is a preview of the x-axis for the coordinate system. The green axis here, that's a preview of the y-axis of the coordinate system. If you're comfortable with that selection, you can click apply. And then this is the new updated coordinate system. So you can see the red axis is going in the up direction, and then the y-axis is going in the right direction. Now, what if you want to orient the x-axis? Suppose you want to do this. Let's go ahead and select maybe this node. So we want the x-axis to go in this direction. And then for the orientation, maybe we want the y-axis, or we want the xy plane to be in this direction. So I'll explain that in a moment. So here, after you select those 3 grids, you get a preview. So here the red axis, that's a preview of the x-axis of the coordinate system. The green axis is a preview of the y-axis of the coordinate system. The purple vector that you see here, it's called the orientation vector here. This defines the xy plane of the coordinate system. And then once you're comfortable with that selection, you can click apply. And then you get your updated coordinate system like you see here. Now, you'll notice a moment ago we selected these 3 grid points. Maybe you don't want to use grid points. Maybe you know exactly where to reposition this in space. So what you can do, you can click this toggle here. So click on the toggle, and you can actually specify a point in space where you want to put that coordinate system. So let's do this. Let's use maybe 2, 2, 2. And we'll go ahead and wait. And we'll see if we can find where that preview, or let's actually use 1, 1. I forget. Oh, here it is. So you can see that this gray point, this gray dot, this is at position 1, 1, 1. Now the x-axis and the orientation vector, you can see that they're pointing to these other 2 points that we have. So alternatively, you can click on the toggle button. You can specify points in space for the x-axis or the orientation vector. So here, let's pick a direction for the x-axis. Maybe we'll use 2, 1, 0. and we'll wait a moment for the preview. So here, this red point, this would be 2, 1, 0. And then what about the orientation vector? Let's go ahead and maybe use 3, 1, 0. And then we'll get a purple point somewhere here. So you can see that the red vector and the purple vector, they're pointing towards the red and the purple point respectively. Now, alternative to these points, you can actually specify a vector. So say I want the x-axis to go in the vector 1, 0, 0. You can do that. The orientation vector, you can say, okay, I want this to go in the 1, 1, 0 direction. And once you supply those values, you get a new preview. So this is a preview of what the coordinate system will look like. And then once you're comfortable with this selection, you can click apply. And then here's your new coordinate system. And then anytime you make a modification or anytime you click apply, those changes are carried over to the coordinate system entry. So let's look for CORD2, CORD2R, and then we modify coordinate system 3. So you'll notice that A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, C1, C2, C3, they've been updated for you. Now, everything I've just discussed is covered in more detail in the quick reference guide. So if you come here, this will give you more information as to what point A, point B, and point C are. Point A, B, and C, those are the values that are defined here. So A1 is the X value, A2 is the Y value, and A3 is the Z value for point A. And then you have values for point B and point C. Okay, let me look and see. Okay, so how do you create a new coordinate system? So suppose you wanted to create a spherical coordinate system. You look for that entry, CORD2S here. Click that row, click create entry. And now you have to supply the values for A1, B1, and C1. You could do those manually here, but it's much easier to use the orientations panel. So let's do this. Let's first find coordinate system 7, which is at the bottom row. Let's go ahead and display a label. Now we sort of have a problem here, if you will. Coordinate system 7 is actually overlapping with coordinate system 0. So coordinate system 7 was placed at the origin, and that's going to be a sort of a challenge for us, because when we go and pick that coordinate system 7, look what happens. So let's go here and click on orientations. Let's go ahead and click on reset form and select coordinate system. When you try and select the coordinate system at the origin, here at the bottom right under the IDs, you see we've selected coordinate system 0 and 7. Here we'll delete 0, so we only have 7. And now we can modify that coordinate system that we created. So let's go ahead and reposition this. Let me rotate this. Let's go ahead and maybe use the grid option just to make things a little easier. Let's go ahead and click reset form. We'll type in 7 manually. For grid ID, we'll say put it here. For the x-axis, we'll say go in this direction. And then for the orientation vector, we'll say, okay, put the XY plane along these 3 points. So here we get a preview. And then once we're comfortable with that selection, we'll go ahead and click apply. And then this is our new coordinate system after we've repositioned and reoriented it using 3 grid points. Now, here on the right, even though we've selected 3 grid points, these grid points are converted to actual locations. So if you go back to the pre-panel, you notice that the instead of using grid IDs here, we're actually using points in space. So we have the X, the Y, and the Z for point A, the XYZ for point B, and then the XYZ for point C. So there you have it. That's how you translate, orient. That's how you create a new coordinate system for CORD2C, CORD2R, and CORD2S. And also that's how you display and add labels for the coordinate systems.